Utie oha extra punk no. Needs FM.
Brand new. The car no brand. The car no brand. Bread ye wachina kunyao. Inshiraka neat etiefo nyina. Ozioma Adakabri oribo baby. The car no Yesi okwai tware suo ene suo tware okwai panyi ni hwan ya yebo okwai betu asuo Ozioma Adakabri Frimpong Manso wagina konya bebiewu
Yamamatna sio na yamamu aye akwaba yatu yensechi yepebrisu kakra na yede abremu efrise ne emunsam se deja na yeba na yabadwendwene ye ho yefri neat 100.9 FM so ne yeba manaswe yefra me Adakabri Mamudu Ochioma na minim senior co character me wafa ase prekope senior research on the show yeah, me mainstay. Your friend Marjorie or say Ajiman. Any atnasia. You didn't say Polo no Adeba. Na nani pakro no women king. The tell me from yet nasi we answer no the message number. Say enra wa twen me atwene recorder. Na manka ashin troopers as am nan man record.
I think because you can't wie. And now one of the characteristics of radio when a transient say a qua and no one no but later omra no be a production team and Sabeka recordings so on the omra no be production team in Sheka Kran and one but a quan so bemo obesan repeat it but oh, here the opportunity
because every 15 minutes be was here can be before. So so we keep the listener on his or her toes.
Yeah.
Into every 15 minutes or say be before ba so every 15 minutes next subject near the fufu bi sa tinka krakra na yam fast dan fama a producer prekope a panyini kwadwo odame ado I say what media see abontene na normal ekoso ekwa jamana na ekwa sabia disengagement na feso so ya fast da ema frema abankro maramichi mafa se omoso so ehwe se yensa ebeka Facebook live se den 70 seconds se katum ayekwa no to comments no bibia no yabeje bre na yetimi akenkan na yede aba anu akiri no so aseda koma yonjo was keep playing my song na yonjo na woye control of music wotutu bibia enwomo no
oyi
bibia kama which is what I see award in next week say be ye man sa
you will highlight when is word so if one of wa
bugu
asante achem ga so
bugu ampofwa nanim say
ga so nyina me pies blog atona eji bugu na mkonya bi
eji se bugu na konya bi utu kra na nkanya san ko moto aso ma akọ bankam eji si police krom koko na se wo ampavua eni nua ba boatma kuya mechiam na aseda so ekodema engineering group no na engineering group yi achuagbo chief engineer na worker nkwati akwa na jare na naboaje na fesu na dasankroma os sempro na facilities group no so the big solo one dada Godfrey yaji atum friend you brana na face so no DJ Bosco na face Mapuna Mills o se tetai omunyina esie na so na ene ube WhatsApp yen on issues ayede ba o say President Kufu Ado tours Uti region na just header to nkebe kana northern part of the Volta region woko just say odebe shase efrefa obefa glokoti anase obefa pando akosiji asekan so hunu nti ekwan de ehe no wonfa so
na de ene
glokoti no de ko hohoi enu enhyada nyesa
nti men dia enye no kwan
de enye no so
won de so fa won de so fa no hu de etie ya na yesi mampanyin bebe baby a wofa na obehwe na pothole bi eda baby afei na womode anwea egu so anadwokra na afei na omumiemi akwan no so makwan na am say na ede infoni ayeye sika na ese mokogye de beye se adwuma we na madi enti na mate so mampanyin beninti na mo hyeda ye we ya na sente sa de ese na sika ni bi mai enti momo mampanyin so befa so bi na ohun the real situation now because mampanyin bo otu na monsa na enya se adwuma de poti na okwakodi ni sa keke so ohun de ekoso no so akasa the feel on the ground na mampanyin ba fe na ye tuatua potholes no ne ade sa de ni mi hu anam boafu
oduru eye havea enti ada so befa na bonkum so e de akọ kwando ana obekọ ne tenten so e de atwam eye golokoti hohoi e de akọji asekan enti ye hwɛ se do because dambai no person okọ obetimi afa eye kwando no fa kwando di anache se wasani sani abeponum e de akọ nkonya henkuru so anache se afa okọ amekurom tapa boto ase just before so be hit rara no na why right e de akọji asekan e just what they afro so honom e de kọ eye nkwanta ansa na che dambai kraba no ko rara de na just apeso kobi na brewoni ase etichere onko wura mu na wan fa de pa nkron de bi opa
o so de wachi ne ho nyina
o mo fish so de papa
ko mu ho tutum se na ho ne de na o mu ni special kyoba bi a ho
udru eye tapa boto ase a o ye left akonsuo na no ho no na ma bibi hye ho na eye
When you say one Maduan and the old boy,
as ultimate say, yeah, na was only a bunch, no, and cacao sim.
You do say, wow, when you inquire, so you're fine.
And I just said, Namu so dear.
Now, so you use a caca crabia,
so now I'm going to 10 training a man, rara for no cookie or
honor, okay,
Honia, yeah, but be a queer. It would do rara and a near strong, and I'm kunya for no so no. Nkunya no eye nkuru mako 12
okay
and I just nkunya hin no na ye o ma hin nkuru
okay
nkunya fo no so no nkunya fo no so no omo east was and I just be pono chire no sa na just obenya eye chito ene wo mo so ya na alavanyo don't ha so manson ne ade no yeah but other than that no just vegetation no eye good e ho so na kru bi shewa kru ho ya akpafo Roma
yeah
eti na nanado okoti region
okoti yebe jimunsem
na wase Ghana person habo and MPS deal may be reviewed and just what can say and then na commentary no
commentary
papa
I'm see may be reviewed
okay na ka say may be reviewed na say dey che say ha na beti asem ha na beti commentary
no be kan yes ubo no na sa na omo ka na yenso ye die enim no na
na wase guns at Tema Port and matters are rising and so true so na CTN Hons and some injunction they call ya against implementation no emun sem nyina so to beba gapo so and they just say semwa ewomu no former staff for no so the Hons and sem bi so aba just say wo mo so free say ye ma mo kwan na wo mo so emeka said terminal 3 and ho nsem eba ne say ya ne ye ba be ye terminal 2 no so no e de na course wo wo mo si na menipa ahansia kwa na awuo Ghana wo mo si just din no de wo mo timi nua be no usu mensa flash din kra dia na obi wo manager say wa na awati egu no so eti emun sembeba
okay
emun sembeba baba
ya berane
oberani bi so
berani bi
enti say president headline of the commentary no commentary head in say
headline no
visibly shaking Akufo-Addo retorts deal your phone just say what you want to say visibly shaking president can say deal your phone
yeah can say the eti o
but your phone as you say
yeah can
me spell phone
phone phone nti
Was it dealing near phone? Phone spell
ni ho. I know if I
Mr. What's up for me?
When I can't say the you. One kind of brofo. Or say deal no. Or say deal near phone.
It's about deal near phone. Deal near phone. Spell my dear what's up here?
050-600-0909.
Repeat
050-600-0909.
Uncle
050-600-0909.
deal near phone.
Phone. We Nejo say pa katanga. On say a food joint to be a bokwemu baby.
I want it.
I'm off with you know. Hey, mo kwa mo fa yen kobi why mo fa yen kobi.
Naje say brother say.
Mo kwa mo fa yen kobi. Na o me yeti mo am off with you papa ye de enuru hwe. I say pa katanga. Pa katanga. So bokwemu baby. And na bo say sa choba obedo na ate ne ho. Na casa apake wo no.
Tete ya na e ho no. Oh, Debbie. I was enchana ba ire fufuro so ne de hia wo. Na je be kumi o. O kra mi brebi ko ho no. That I know so used to Toyota Corolla no. The Corolla no ko ho no.
Oh, okay, good.
E ho ye mum. E ho ye. Ti deal ni ya phone.
Hey.
Visibly shaking President of the Republic. And also the deal ni ya phone. Fun so ne anti me spell.
Fun na ma spell dia two way. Say no ya makeme.
Uti hobby. Na we ye gapo adwuma yani. A minister for me ensa. A
transport.
Labor minister.
Okay.
A nsuatre this year. Bafo we are not hobby.
Bafo we ya.
And a transport minister ko fufu esia maso to hobby. And na makmenu so to be.
Yeah, board chair. And
board chairman so to. And there's another person mentioned. Na just a nipa mo awade na say. Na what you want say who the president ne kasam nyina na buafu. Na bufuo no mu. Na o tap these faithful words deal ni your phone. Na o sha say the free the Djibouti experience. Djibouti DNC wo ho. Foreign company say and be port no. And afumu say deal no. And the government not so no an say hunu say deal na fe dem ofo na twie di. And omo yes omo ne nkrofo no be kan nkrofo ne nte ase. And omo yes say de omo pam nkrofo no. Enti nkrofo no ko arbitration London. By the time international arbitration it take 4 years. Womo ebae no na Djibouti fo no afa port no say okay mo so mo bo ka say ye betua mo ka ye adwuma na ye tuatua mo kakra de amam nkofo na it president the use of the Djibouti experience no na dia na dwene wo dia so
say dia ko bi nyina no president no otio
Osi die workers ni ye nyina oti na make radio so gogwa ti radio na die na no ye reference to
say enya ha na ye breaking semi Djibouti experience ya we Kenya say he ya na ye kan semi no
sound
ha na ye kan enti ya kira wo say oti
na ko nyina ansa kura na ye beka se ye no mo tena se aka bibia no say ye 15% on fire no omo fa meto ba bia da kura ansa na ya hyase aka sa in let's say handless of the president na man who say say ya 15% bia na
Derby
sir
into no kaso mo fa meto ho no briefing say na wo hia ho ba so we your man panyin na yeah president dadie but the fact that we nim driver no doesn't mean say driver ni and driver yi a who say we there obi nko school da ba part na radio so na ka sebe brofo bi enso eni obeka tweta brofo be na wo keka radio so sai so ho no nkire say onko school da ni nti onim say onka nti adwuma no enya de da form so ye president ni bi da na enso ye hu say adwuma no ena form we president na say bibi koso na wanya briefing ni yi a ma wo president ne kra no bo hu say obekwa akwa toto papa so ba bi kra onim say wo toto papa so
e di na be na ka say deal your phone
sa ade no the end, the woman on said, anyway. It is for call and good audio course. I feel be uncrata, you know, and say, be a coffin and Nimono, and they are what a no Kikasi and knee because, yes, a penny, dear, mate. On the son of Sana, you can't show. Dear near phone, a Abuaji free, a event saying, Abuaji free Hamburg, or say Nanabuaji, deal no, or the Brofuna or the other deal, and watch your NO, and there you know, and I hear not through the white, and a 3, and a phone, so I hear the phone, FON. Dear phone. I know what they don't be at the but it don't be dear near phone. And on the other son, dear near phone. There's got a free dear phone. Well, and just a dear remember President dear near phone. Oh, ready. Do you need a phone? No, it's our father. They say, well, we are my penny, as a baby, and in my penny, or no, I bet to my human as I yes, when in no one on that. I shall see, and I am about an grant just who yap a swap will be a bit in your one of Jumano. And I'm so, Wama, a country in Cratano, at the Beto, a Marabata, and who say, we are my penny, and Yadia when you bet me. Akọ baby on sana enso nyame ani kata enu tine so nya aboafo na aboafo na ntimi ama briefing ni yia ehọ na na nsem no eba no deal phone bebem so be be say na deal ni phone be kakopie ewo bia ye pie ye no so nye sebe me bedroom ye bia ya a utu say yes workers ni ka workers no ho na ekoko wie say wuti say president ka say deal ni phone no e dey be ko so wadwe aye workers na mu dey say the workers okay be mo hu say eto kra won even though e bia menya so say wo mo be expect say bibi kra betimi aba to say deal ni phone so say na ne bosu afu no say deal ni phone Indeed, na a chiro baby. Ana Odiama, a year former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Okay. Was an a Cherry Blair. Yeah, and also a year lawyer. Into the chambers, our London, and to such chambers, no, and my year reference to Omodia Dianako. Because a passer, a quack, a Bibia Manso Biaba. Omunyina elected arbitration near the back of London. Yeah. It didn't just ahead of say ye betua na mo bi wa no. I was here timi hu say a lawyers and specialists in London. Ahwe say a kwan ben ye betimi afa so betimi tinker with the agreement. Yeah. So that a basen crofo no call London na ye hunu ye defenses the gina asunti aye chen. Now within 5 weeks. Yeah. You better presenting. Now within 5 weeks the fact is what I say do near phone doesn't mean say 5 weeks you call for review and now say 70% we may abrogate the whole contract. Hey, the whole contract in the I'm afraid though, but may sure say experience may sure say may sure say a bit me about say there might be first step a review maybe as a review now ko year na e do ni afun na dey your phone say your phone tin na ye kwakope ade papa na ewo mo no say ne ade no 70% likely to cancel the whole deal. Now young kan sikasem na yonko the Djibouti experience say fe ho kan ne ade ye betua ye de be ye adwuma na ye tua so ho nti well but of course I was say Ghana for the team demonstrating man international community no say e Ghana for na e kan nye say Akufuado na one page on Mahama asem no say o kotwam. How do we do that? Nti we no nyina no eye nchiremu e say yen omamufo no yetimi etiase number 1 and na 2 why na also chirem dia ekoso no what the phone no FOO and in brackets and the show did your phone well FOO and brackets and I call London
and I just walk out to London to fit a phone crowd to me spell a phone. But young girl, and an idea, Mumus and energy, Mam said, phone, deal me a phone.
Phone, your best spelling.
Best spell the same. Because that should be the headline. Deal me a phone.
Yeah.
It's your best spell the same. Deal no yet.
Your phone.
Phone and them say,
phone, as you say, no.
Phone.
Now, phone was it and phone. Because what can see what? It be an okay and but a bit my silent.
Well, phone, we say FUUUUNNNNN. Do you need a phone? Hey, my battery for one row. Do you need a phone? And then a man went to what to make us a do you need a phone? Maggie. Messages.
What about this in India?
There's a 70% likely to say, because some consultant and canceller, nay, day.
Because you cancel the
because London where the corner near the Ama Womo and
the contract in a moon summoner. So said that cancellation the cost on us and fat Bibi who be I say a cocoa to Jessica who be about said the essay a corner no. Sunday say corner because who's a contract at Casano? I didn't know your portions be brave, one clauses be brave woman. I don't know, say be a wubu clause in the so crown. I don't know what can you man nature will be a booby so it's not quite it doesn't call for anything and yadia beg Cassie will be a year, quack of face, be a quackutria, be judgment debt, be no be a quack na but yeah, trust enough you who said I didn't say your call, okay, fine. Said okay, Djibouti experience, he na say. Yeah, okay, but ya de na ya ranena ya tuamo kadi amama na bibia beko ya.
No, so
fair enough. Fair enough because but for me they are me am tutu manamo a ye call ho no. Aha. I me share said the normal call them say, "Hey, ade is empanyimfo ankasa ho ntemo a dache
because it's here no counterfeiting nra. Say nra so ya juada. Nra juada no kasa 5 weeks ah. The 5 weeks be see that be
5 weeks and you because now
it is 5 times 5 because working days technically
okay. Technically
lawyer ni can say yet 5 weeks technically 5 days in a week
okay
days.
Okay we are talking about 25 working days
25 working days
25 working days
and now almost also no at the ben a bit free construction stage the about operation
that's
June 28
yeah 28 June
it's 25 working days no calculate
my main calendar now
25 working days no
e say ye be free
your phone. Who bet me send messages?
I say it to me you be free now because we said the human no cost or hopper no na yes yes na say the answer e be share dem from
and run adwin na me yanti as just say she president to because dey near phone
so we hu bibi wo ma to me say anko ye we hu bibi wo hu to say there be we in the say idea we no na president so aka na sa no na just say normal bebre questions bebre wo ho
na just say a hope no dem na say hopelessness say na dey yetimi ma hope for hopeless
hope for hopeless ai etimi si hope for hopeless it's be ana say you hope na no dey man you say hopelessness
hopeless
it's just be kasa kwa say be some you
it would run out say deal ni your phone
the phone I want you na ade na ye kama monya gidie bi ehun say ade no ye betuma ye hu bibi e just say no be an just say president at night say explanation e bi no be me ehun so all night so it 5 weeks okay 5 working
the 25 working days be 15 nra you best start free
until you best start free say best see
25 working days with me I was up here on 050 600
0909
okay when you call that me I'm say just a pay deal on the bill because what's your man what are you talking about please be crying aware
be crying say to say radio there bia no we share the for every way bia aye so 10-15 minutes
tie deal na
we share the for
Ghanaian presidency deal near phone
we share the for it's not just say 25 working days,
25 working days,
14th June, right?
About 14th June,
yeah,
June 14.
June 14.
And June 14, June 14, June 14, by 25 working days, June 14, a Friday. It is a Friday, June 28, so and then some hand over from construction to operational stage.
Operational stage,
So, it needs to say June 14.
I can be 2 weeks.
And needs to say, Quack, say, dear Obecano, Sebastian Obecot Habo Hobia, the Obecano June 28, and nobody can my Yahuno, a position and Sana. Why they may wako ubisi diri ya form
there on the way
diri ya phone wako space diri ya form okay and young go back to diema dia kan ya and no presidential description ko ba se diri ya phone
because now we can cut and so say the about a year MPS deal may be reviewed. It can say maybe reviewed into and just said you more canon on Sunday and they just say a beer and Sakra beba a yes our deal between a year MPS Gapu and in your port expansion project and into Yabash na yahu say review never bow say you be year free ho say Djibouti experience in a year you so say no yeah beje na ya yara na de waboka yate woka ugbo yini wokakra wo de aka honi ya dia tum ya tro ya undertaking nti ye de airport no ye adwuma sika beba no ese sika no na ye de tuatua ye ka ye wi na ba be japade nti ni nyina na ye behwe because sa options ni nyina na available na amaye ho anabuntu a ese se ye tu edefa ho but we ni nyina na wafa lessons bi o ho ese yesu yan go mostly no twa we mpanyimfo yi sabe si ade 2 minutes chamonsa na sa moko sign bibi ade na moko akosign no utum se ade we pa ade ya nhwe ne adache be ha nchiri mo ana ma hwe ne yie kakra so ho we ni nyina no ye kan nyina no se na deal no ye fon kra pie mu e ba ne sign na deal no ko ye fon e ba ne sign e na ko ye fon so ho iti no ma wo ne tra se ane ye de se be hye damri fama ne ya nhwe ne ya me de me call site ho no e na me hu se ade we no se yanhwe ne ye se ye betena se ayenhwe han na yanka ho asem ntemu a masa nipa no investment no ye ono kura nya asem keto da chi ne ho asem kan no ebeye bibia wo ho ebeye bibia because ye nyina ye nim Ghana ha adwadefo bo se nipa ba ko de anka table bi ko akosi wo na anka miensa gu so bi so we de me fiafro mba na me begu so afi next time na anka na nya miensa na gu kenten mu we de me be ya na me ma med bandi be si afi obehu no obi aba be ka no ho na obi nso to nsuo na ode aba be ka ho na obi ye we afi wutu wo betu se adwadefo yi wo mo de sobo e ba be bo se ene na ye me kosuku o nti wafa no mani bu aweni ne lessons as a Jesu yani ye papa so
na Jessica pa mema
wa ba kan
ye nyado
ene tasi mi ensa ne won kan ha ya twro akire nana Jessica pa
bebrebe mpo
na VIP ba ko so nana Jessica pa no da roma ne watu ahu akofa agudie bi ba bi ade atoto sa aka asia
na kan e kra de dozo chese
deal ni your phone and say atwetwe ye buyi ni ye best plan ni saying
say you know phone no ye wo fo say bibi ye fo fo na phone no o no be mienu
anti deal ni your phone no o no be
mienu na de omni say twi no bi wo ka o ka no wo wanum anyejia no sound no and bi so say fa ohinimu so otwe and I'm him. What call train now? I'm fine him. Because him be.
I without Romana, I cause you come on. And
I don't know phone. Oh no, Yama, you fire him.
Honest work as a funny human. I
had a phone. I didn't need a phone. And now, cheese auto, Peneja Kumbuka, our channel. What is it to one? Maybe I'm okay now. My service. I was ade bia ye fun bia de ade bia pro enye kankan ye bon ade bia wo
say deal ni ye fun a
ye abon
ne bu afu ene wo kasa na afri na no ba say deal ni ye fun
ade fe fun na mo ma de jo hwinum but ye wo fo ade fo de ade o fo
anase wudi yes kan yesi cheese mu go fo ana
to fo adibia to fo na wode o manage je ohunum fo ade FOO adi ayi me wo ba ko tra lande ne ayi a wo bo twere se twi wo bo spell twi brofo so ba ko de o wa twere FOO mi no de
and akwa se bracket bi
or de ke bekate twi ne phone phone
adi na be ma obi a retort anasa a comment in jest because deal near phone
or the cabrita da bi na obi ma comment anasa obi kyerɛ na dwen ana obi kasa on authority o mampani kasa on authority o tumi Ghana bibia de headensa ana wayi nipa na ode adwuma ma wo mu ana nipa na ya ade na anye wei enti obi betu kasa ankwada yi ye ba school mu prapra me for da prapra funze mafa beda mi betu aka wo ba bedo ado funze na ma me obi a wo mayi sika ma se ye aduane wo ye aduane wo ye nkwamfo se na ma me enti so de to ho a sare tie mayi mu minim so betu ya adwuma no na de adwuma na ma mu na mo nkoye hihye ne ye fanya adwuma na Ghana nkoso a wakwakoye adwuma funze enti de mo ye ne ye fon
ti deal ne ye fon tumi yentie deal kura presidential comment in jest deal ne ye fon
deal ben
Mix 100.9 FM so any na ene Wednesday April 24 2019 and the time just about gone 4 minutes past 2 na Sabri we say nra na yebinya ntie se adwumayefo a omo Ghana Person Harbor Authority omo ese yaboko for the next 21 days na bibia omo friend MPS omo nti omo ho ase na sa MPS no ya de bia ubusa se nipa dodo sempo ene te ase senti a ekro na bese busumi mienu ko busumi miensani ena document eda honom yatena se aye nhwehwemu abanfoforo yi baaye na de koso abandada ne penso na ese enne o matena se ahwehwem na ehwehwemu wieye no recommendations sebesi ne no yemfa anya adwuma na aye bibi se na perfect contract na nkrofo ya yen na wukoku kasa sa contract wuko renegotiate ana wuko akotwam a afi international community no ebe kasa no bi lawyer ni ma papa na be Ghana mampanyina oso open investment aba Ghana na afi de investors aye contractor oba ya wotwam inti just atwetwe mpanefo obo ema ye hu se de se na wo bebusa se edu bra was a Ghana for dodo no etimi hunu asem no mu na wo mutimi ekasa eye Ghana for na ekasa yi na Ghana for na ato abama Ghana mampanyini enti obia betimi akọ na MP ho edini nsusu ye de ato MP nanim civil society organizations ebetimi asigina ye ewa ade no ho ama Ghana mampanyini etimi hu se enye wono Ghana mampanyini na bia obi beka ne se political chicanery nti waso okutwa contract bim ana wo call for renegotiation Name Ghana for what is good for Ghana. In the light of that, Ehiyama say that entire document almost very, very confidential. No, Yakin Kaima Ghana Nibia etimuasem biana. Drew said was he a king kind? Emma Ghana for Ubia timuasem biana. Ayadepa, and I say young fam bata na entry penny for the bossa na gapo hedjuma and analysis are cost to say a move 1,400 and na ye be yi womadi na gapoha ya Ghana Person Harbor Authority said the scenario is it is a tenacity and yes yanka hu bibia e be lose $74 million from a year afia 2020 kosi 2027 and sana ni subiribiri no a o mani subebiri o mo no o matimi ate o mani ehia mase ye nyina yete ye ho ase ana
What are your thoughts? Yensom aya Ghana ene ye nyina ye hwehwe ne yie yom.
Needs FM.
Needs 100.9 FM so any. Yankenka messages kakra na fe no appropriate information I was say the man or my man na yetimi dia ma. I say what for good afternoon. Indeed, Erade aya mami amana broso. Kaso of a read a document for us to hear and or de aba. I say good afternoon, master. If you know that you are not afraid, read the document. My name is Niayi from Alajo. And or de eba yeah. Farouk from Tema. I've always maintained that this Meridian Port Service deal is bad and not good for the group of Ghana Port Authority. I urge President Kufuor to have a second look at the contract, and whoever is found complicit in the deal is dealt with. The nation cannot stand to lose such workforce just like that. Mr. President, use your eagle eye and or de aba. Or say, hey. The MPP government have sold our destiny for money, according to Osafo, and we, the people of Ghana, are expecting Nana-Addo to sack Osafo now. If he wants to take if he wants us to take him serious as president, Meshach Asante Abusu Kain and or the free to buy. Adakabri, help me call Madam Bisu to listen to the Ghana Medical Center spokesperson, Agboda and or the buy. Say Wafa. What is best for Ghana is 1. The constitution must be changed. 2. The police and EC should be independent. 3. Ministers must not exceed 30. 5. From 3 to 5 ampa. Okay. Afeno tawason. Na yenkenkan that very very confidential document. Production crime maintain say yenkan brofun. Said the city no that will be amfani opinion and nas will be amfani brofo fufuro bi ankan be a true baby and na TV wanaja what chimkitwe background no kakra enti ya kinken no enyina enti aso obetimi a wo de be tape na woto obuase a na fe no nko a wo ho a na wo kan na wo tie enti misro ya kinken no so ba bi so ho no mo a na Ode obesi ana na ode WhatsApp message edi aba ode be fa 050 600 0909 050 600 0909 na yetimi ena wi no nko a yebese ya kan document no in its entirety now afi ye nyina ye hunu senti a gapo hadwumayefo woni aboko jan na ene awia no nan omukop Ghana mampanyini atenaye African Queen yedamase ena oba pasade yedamase ena oba papa mackerel so yedamase aseda so koma aye honchon capsules aye prostate disorder ena SNY granules and also so your kidney, your nourishing, almighty Mr. Kill, and also so the say your stress, your truasie, na imagine branding. The Mamisha ye na making cannibal na yinyano, opa ne de wapem pemo baby now that na just say ukuta ye in sui special ice. I was seponen kakra. And as a special energy, Nina, Nikurikura. Now we are kakra. Document in Idini. Ministry of Transport, Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, Ministerial Committee report, very confidential, final, under the instruction of the Economic Management Team, EMT, a review of concession agreements between the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority and Meridian Port Services Limited, Port of Tema Container Terminal Concession, dated March 2008. The background, any a kind of broken. Or say background. The concession agreement, 17th August 2004. Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, GPHA, in line with the government of Ghana's Trade and Development Gateway project, embarked on the port reform process through private participation in the development of facilities within the Tema port. GPHA's development programs were in accordance with its mandate under the GPHA Law 1986, PNDC Law 160. In July 2004, GPHA entered into a shareholder agreement with Meridian Port Holdings, a consortium registered in the United Kingdom, made up of APM Terminals, Balor Logistics Africa, Bagu Travel, and Saturn Energy Group. GPHA MPH relationship established a special purpose vehicle, SPV, known as Meridian Port Services Limited, MPS. The full list of shareholders of MPS was not disclosed in the shareholders agreement, except for GPHA and MPH. Subsequently, in August 2004, GPHA entered into a concession agreement with Meridian Port Services Limited for the container terminal operations in the port of Tema. The first concession agreement was effective 1st April 2007, noted as the date of first commercial move by MPS. It must be noted that GPHA largely funded the original MPS terminal, including the procurement of cranes, and operated the terminal area A from the date of commissioning in July 2005 till MPS go live date of 1st April 2007. As a result of national economic growth and the increasing volumes of containerized cargo handled at the Tema port, GPHA decided and embarked on a project to expand the Tema port in order to accommodate larger container vessels and increase its container handling capacity in line with the GPHA master plan. In 2012, GPHA initiated a procurement process to expand the Tema port into deeper waters in accordance with the Tema port master plan through international competitive public tender. This project was part of the strategy of GPHA to realize its vision of becoming the leading trade and logistics hub of West Africa. The goal was to develop adequate capacity at the port of Tema to cope with projected growth in traffic and to meet the economic needs of the country and the region over the long term. Deed of Amendment, 12 June 2015. The Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority on June 12, 2015 executed a deed of amendment to the concession agreement with Meridian Port Services. The deed of amendment updated and amended some provisions in the concession agreement for the development, management, and operation of a container terminal in the port of Tema. A major feature of the deed of amendment, the right granted to MPS to design, develop, manage, and operate Terminal 3, a new container terminal in the port of Tema. Further details are provided in Section 5. Background to the deed of amendment. Prior to the execution of the deed of amendment, a series of events presented below provides a comprehensive background and circumstances under which the deed of amendment was executed. The committee established that GPH's own internal efforts had generated sufficient data and technical information, that which became the document upon which the concessionaire (MPH) group relied on to execute the project. Expression of interest for the development works. In line with the requirements of the Public Procurement Act 2003 at 663, and in pursuit of transparency and value for money considerations, GPHA decided to use international competitive tendering process to procure contractors, financiers, and operators for the Port of Tema expansion project. The first procurement notice was issued by GPHA in local and international media, covering the period February 1, 2013 to April 12, 2013. This notice was a request for expression of interest (REOI) to finance and engineer, procure and construct (F&EPC) the port expansion development works. A number of entities showed interest in the project. GPHA received 56 entries, an indication of the inherent potential of the business, hence the high local and international interest in the project due to the inherent business potential. Chenonso. Ose Gapua Kasa Obeye Jumano. Companies Maku 56 across the world and a cancer Womobeye Jumano. Sa company ne or no ejinamono. Sa 56 companies na on come. So one of the Jumano one pay. On the not Ghana had that. On the Jumano Tema Habo Dada. Sa 56 companies no or so no on pay. One can she, one can be bia Yantuaso. Finance and engineer, procure, construct F&EPC international competitive bidding. A total of 20 out of the 56 applicants consortia were shortlisted and pre-qualified based on a defined set of evaluation criteria. The pre-qualified applicants were subsequently invited to submit bids towards the delivery of the Port of Tema expansion works. The invitation for bids was issued on July 22, 2013, with a final bid submission date of January 27, 2014. All the shortlisted entities received a full set of bidding documents. The documents, technical, commercial, financial bid forms, draft forms of contracts, drawings, and all addenda and annexure of useful documents were prepared by GPHA and fully administered through the bidding process. A major pre-bid conference was hosted by GAPOHA on October 2, 2013 at the Moving Peak Ambassador Hotel in Accra for the prospective bidders and their funding agencies. More than 120 persons participated in the pre-bid meeting. Minutes of meetings, site visits, responses to requests for clarifications, and technical engagements were all administered fully by GPHA. At the close of the bid on January 27, 2014, 7 bids were received and were found to be fully responsive to the IFB. These bids were opened publicly and the commercial terms declared in accordance with international competitive bidding procedures. Bids were subjected to preliminary technical and commercial evaluation with recommendations forwarded to GPHA towards the next steps in the procurement process. Expression of interest for the terminal operators. As part of the process, GPHA issued another procurement notice on April 10, 2014 for requests for expression of interest for terminal developers and operators for container, roll-on, roll-off, ro-ro, and cruise passenger terminals in the Port of Tema. The closing date for the REOI was May 23, 2014. GPHA received 16 entries as the close of the submission deadline. These were made up of major international players in the various terminal operations. It is noted that the REOI for the terminal operators was different from the bidding for the construction works. These two main procurement plans were meant to run concurrently to hopefully engage various operators who would influence the final terminal superstructure designs for the operations. The committee noted that in all these procurement notices, MPS, MPH, MPS, Meridian Port Services, MPH, Meridian Port Holdings, did not participate in the competitive process. APMT and Balor jointly expressed interest in the operations REOI, but not as MPH. APMT no, when Balor no, womu nyina ka ho na yefre womu Meridian Port Holdings. But ba say ye be yes adwuma we no APMT no ono oba no de yanko Balor no oba ne de yanko omu nyina as a group no a wo mkokoye SPV no aye MPS no wono de wanka ho hwe so you interested. While the procurement processes were underway, the then government, acting through the Ministry of Transport, the sector ministry, issued a directive to GPHA to terminate the procurement processes. Also, while the procurement processes were underway, the then government, acting through the Ministry of Transport, the sector ministry, issued a directive to GPHA to terminate the procurement processes. The directive requested GPHA to open discussions and negotiations with MPS for the Port of Tema expansion project. The committee did not come across any written evidence of the above reference directive, but officials of GPHA indicated that it was through telephone conversation. Amani ndio mesomuntie ni ye na munyina muntimi nsigina ye emfama wo MP na wo MP mfama Ghana mampanyini. Amani ndio ye hwehwe what is good for Ghana. Termination of international competitive bidding procurement process. Consequently, on November 13, 2014, GPHA formally terminated the procurement process for the terminal operations. Letters were formally sent to the proponents. Again, on December 16, 2014, the EPC and the finance bid was also terminated by the issuance of a notice to all the participants who submitted bids. On November 14, 2014, a day after the termination of the terminal operations procurement process, GPHA executed a memorandum of understanding with MPS. It is unclear whether or to what extent the MOU was negotiated before execution. The committee identified some contradictions in the MOU that should have been rectified before execution. One of such contradictions is the term duration of the contract of the concession. In Article 4,
it refers to an extension of the concession period to 35 years. Whilst Annexing 2, List of Provisions, Item 6, presents a concession of more than an additional 35 years. And then it's saying, a year earlier original agreement, no. Data ne das one, 20 years, no. I feel dear, a passy a MOU, a fa baby. See MOU no so no, ye de sa port no sa ma wo a year 35 years, aside of the 20 years, no. A fa baby so almost so there be ye bet 20 years, no, every 35 years, no, sa contradiction, no, and na asemi all kind of sa. The implications of these contradictions are discussed further in the report. The MOU was to serve as the basis for the negotiations that led to the execution of the deed of amendment. The decision of the then government of Ghana to partner with MPS to deliver the Port of Tema expansion project was widely carried in the local and international news media. MPH proposal to expand the MPS terminal. Was your original MPS terminal. Actually say, Oko a year gapo and woman or friend terminal 2. And I key 2 projects. And as I see, almost have become me a key 3 projects. And that's a terminal 3 project. MPS channels. MPS a Meridian Port Services. Single purpose vehicle woman in a kaboom. I said ye the a gapo as who come home. See the ye a Q2 no and that terminal 2 no. And na woman bebe count Emma Gapua Kamwe Benya MPS no woman Meridian Port Holdings. I say prior to the international competitive tender process, APMT and Balor Group in 2012 approached Gapoha to express interest in expanding the MPS terminal along their proposed layout to satisfy MPS only. Their proposed layout was rejected by Gapoha because it did not conform to the port's master plan. That proposal was not considered as an option to the tender process, hence the unique international tender processes introduced in 1.3.2 and 1.3.3 above. MPS in November 2014 indicated to the presidency of Ghana that it would provide funding for the GPHA Master Plan Development Program, including the expansion of the Tema Accra Motorway. Samu yini ya na lawyer for beka inducement ni bi nsem obi beka ma tirimu aye odama oba besia waje penny ese yo mapene na me no betena ne sen oso ye kwa kopa bosia ye kopa ye de ai botum sika shareholder fo sika ye de ba be ye GP ye be ye terminal 3 no. On top of that, you better yet Tamamoto, no, sick lanes, cry at your account. On Managana, by Trimian, the Ghana, but we also be able to win account. Yeah. Was the MPS in November 2014 indicated to the presidency of Ghana that it will provide funding for the GPHA Master Plan Development Program, including the expansion of the Tema Accra Motorway. It is important to note that notwithstanding the international bids received by GPHA for the phase 1 of the project, GPHA truncated the promising international tendering process in favor of MPS on the basis of the promise that MPS will provide full funding for the project. One man a copy of Gadiaba, one by Yamamoto will cross Adia. Yeah, with that day. Gapoha tender process neither envisage any financial contribution from GPHA either in the capacity as grantor or shareholder in MPS, nor a sovereign guarantee from the Ghana government to support investment. Also compare on shareholders is Ghana government into Yateku, on for sovereign guarantee biama, Gapo and Tuyashe, Obesa your Tema motorway. Ye na group was a afa yentie. Negotiating the deed of amendment. Following the execution of the MOU, Gapoha engaged MPS to negotiate the deed of amendment. The parties agreed to negotiate the terms of the deed of amendment in good faith, and on the basis of the MOU, some level of negotiations were held between Gapoha and the partners in the Meridian Port Holding Group. Minutes of the negotiation were, however, not available to the committee. The negotiations led to the execution of the deed of amendment to the concession agreement between GPHA and MPS. GAPOHA gave concessions as consideration for promises and representation that MPS made during the engagements leading to the MOU. What did you work? Was it GAPOHA? It is her concession in mind in consideration. Say, Ngrophonis one more cope womusika at the ababe ye. A shareholder scan on deba. Omun cabusia biao. Omun cabusia bia almost say, or shareholder scan ya deba. After some Messiah, Temamoto will class on the account. And the GPH said, "It's a year. And the mummy anyway. Some of these promises and representations are captured in the MOU executed between the parties. The committee noted, based on the executed agreement, that the duration and quality of negotiations appears inadequate. The extent of negotiations, length, quality, team composition, venues, minutes of discussions, etc. on the deed of amendment and the related data could not be made available to the committee." Already. Me develop your negotiating skills. Woman into you. Develop your negotiating skills. Implications of the negotiations on the deed of amendment on the survival of GPHA are described further in section 6. MPS representations. Some of the representations that MPS made and which form the basis of the deed of amendment are summarized below. MPS investment partners to invest $1.5 billion. The initial cost for the expansion project was estimated at $1.5 billion, though this was not stated in the MOU. However, from the onset of the negotiations of the deed of amendment, MPH consistently made reference to the estimated project cost of $1.5 billion as one of a kind in African port, as indicated in the application for the tax waiver. They indicated that their investment in the port expansion project will provide Ghana with a world-class port infrastructure with expanded and modern facilities lasting 100 years at a cost of $1.5 billion. It was understood that the project investment partners, MPH, that is APMT and Balo Group, would provide the funding, build, operate, and hand over to GAPOHA after the term of the concession. Investment in basic port infrastructure. It appears to the committee that, given the understanding that the project investment partners were to invest specific amounts in the project and the develop infrastructure, dredging, breakwater, etc., potentially used for other concessions within the expansion area, GPHA was ready to make all the concessions to facilitate the realization of the project. Feasibility studies and viability indicators. The committee noted that the financial model submitted by MPS indicated that the internal rate of returns acceptable for the project was approximately 10.5%. This appears to have influenced the level of concessions granted by GAPOHA, since it did not re-evaluate the IRR representations made by MPS. Concession fees waived to support project. Following from above, GPHA agreed to very low and liberal concession fees on stevedoring and port dues and zero concession fees on berth occupancy charge. We now yakuya no be analysis na ko we say we mu GPHA etiase no say obetete so de ama wo no eno nene tie ma agreement ni gina ho a GPHA eboka $74 million a year. Let us say at the time no o ma anticipate say de bebe ni. As if following from above, GPHA agreed to very low and liberal concession fees on stevedoring and port dues and zero concession fees on berth occupancy charge, harbor rent, to ensure project visibility and ultimate project realization. GPHA also agreed to forego payment of lease rent on the land or any upfront payment, initial concession fee payment for the business granted MPS. MPS could say, hey, who passes if you are my own? What the Punadi my a puno into your rent in farm. Yeah, was one who could tea a punum, never reclaim us as here what punase into who need dama our de Magapua. Can you imagine? And to bet me ako Antwerp, aqua case, what funny po. Now I reclaim it won't be a shame and Antwerpian authorities. Yeah, negotiating skills, me anticipate ahead. Section Section 5.9. All these were done to allow MPS recover the cost of the project, initially estimated at $1.5 billion. The project estimates earlier published were estimates based on GPHS technical feasibility studies and designs prior to the international bidding process. It has come to light upon commencement of marine works that the initially estimated project cost of 1.5 billion has reduced to about 1.1 billion and may go down further as the project is executed and actual bill of quantities are aggregated. Tax waivers granted by Parliament of Ghana. Under the representation of the People's Act, near the normal be too many when you are the kind here. I wait to say, oh, kind of rubber stamp cry for privileges. Oh, and the main can say, young can sing. Near the idea be too many more. I'm rashamed for ya mocking kind here. Tax waivers granted by Parliament of Ghana. After signing the deed of agreement in June 2015, MPS, with the support of GPHA and Ministry of Transport, made an application for tax waivers and concession through the Ministry of Finance to the Parliament of Ghana in January 2016 and was granted tax waivers totaling $832 million in March 2016. Me one fear be what I say. So we be sure Juma $1.5 billion. Now about I knew you come and I could do 1.1. I bet you come a bedroom be moving class a bedroom say your core assassin a Juma in number $300 million. Now what he has is my tax concession throughout the period. No, my tax concession amounting to $832 million. Bay. Wanala. Equity contribution and dilution of government of Ghana Gapuha shares. I heard the year. Or say, as stated earlier, the clear understanding of the parties as established during the international tender was that GPHA would not contribute cash towards the realization of the project. The committee observed that throughout the negotiation of the deed of amendment, MPH, in recognition of the above, gave no indication that Gapoha, as grantor or shareholder of MPS, would ever be called upon to make equity contribution towards the realization of the project. There was also no decision or suggestion that Gapoha will have its shareholding in MPS diluted in the event that it failed to respond to any equity cash calls in the future. Wasi afide di odukoji omwanka sa shareholder fusika no afide yankoji shareholder fusika afide ye kwa kwaje bosnia na bosnia na ye koje no yesi obi anfa bibi metopono so and afide gafu wasi eh se me de ba anka nchem se me disca bia bebo yeso wura eyamra e wasi disca ba wasi me disca no me nibi afide wasi ni 30% ne wo mo no ma dilute no ma yi 15%. Or no di ne pe a dilute wo 30% no say ebi wurade after then another dan kwaku fuado buy and I said 15% no monfanka ho na jite enye san kwa back to 30%. O se sa o se me fanka ho me de beka ho na me de ka ho de me charge $42 million. Udade negotiating skills of one more. O me say yo ye betia na mo ye ni bi say o se ni bi say de $42 million me de to na ye share adwuma na say in July no a usika benya na ma sha say $42 million na free me ka say so no na de ne pay a dilute wo no 30% shares na 15% oh And the one country was say Obakwaji loan, so the one tika bottom sika bo, and I've was Wakwaji loan, Fawoso counterpart funding Bibra, was Minibi, was at the Unibidia at the Wukwa without recourse to you, my dilute to Ankasa shares from 30% to 15%. Yamuni and Nomategano no. Company when you know Muya Jumano, then I do not call for renegotiation. I had then. So who call for renegotiation? I had then another Roma. Nipa Wabamo, a year expert advice, and what charity to do? What charity to do? Now, Grove, what you flooded? You, Muntien. IFC arranged loan. Following the execution of the deed of amendment, MPS entered into a loan agreement with International Finance Corporation for the financing of the project. It is unclear why the loan was not on the account of MPH to confirm the representations made by MPS under the MOU. One of the conditions of the loan was that the sponsor parties, MPH shareholders of MPS, would contribute a minimum of 35% of the amount required as equity. These IFC-related developments, in the view of the committee, are inconsistent with the original understanding of the parties. See Section 1.6 above and further explanation in the shareholding structure in Section 3.5 below. Summary of events leading to the impasse. The MOU of November 2014 was premised on the development of the project through funding from GH's Project Investment Partners, APMT, and Balo Africa Logistics, without recourse to neither government sovereign guarantee or GPH's balance sheet. However, as a result of events inconsistent with the intentions of the MOU, it turned out that Gapoha's shareholding in MPS was diluted from 30% to 15%. Some of these events included the execution of the deed of amendment, the loan agreement, board and shareholder meetings, share allotment, and issuance of notices, as well as resolutions. GPHA maintained its position that there was no need for GPHA to contribute cash to finance the project. Further, the PIP in particular insisted that the IFC loan required counterpart and equity funding from the project. These positions were captured in minutes of meetings, particularly the May 23, 2016 shareholders meeting in Amsterdam. However, the resolution dated June 24, 2016, which purported to dilute GPH's shareholding, appears to be at odds with the said minutes. According to a former Director General, Mr. Richard Anamu, and the current General Manager of Finance of GPHA, Mr. Christian Amedo, the dilution of the shares was filed at the Registrar General's Department, but GPHA only became aware of the said dilution when the 2016 financial statement of MPS was delivered to GPHA. What Fausikas was one country okra? What mu? What Fausika was on Kakran Chilo? Was on country also Sika Krawafa? To register Bibia, Najise, or not in the financial statement, Brewono, and then who say, hey, Tawafam Sikadi. This apparent realization triggered a major impasse between the parties. Further, GPHA refused to endorse part of the IFC documents, the sale pledge agreement, and the loan and the form irrevocable power of attorney to trigger the disbursement of the IFC loan facility. GPHA refusal to sign the additional agreements according to MPS, the substance of the project. The committee, however, observed that contrary to the above, GPHA has signed a resolution of shareholders dated June 24, 2016, which, among other things, purported to dilute the shares of GPHA from 30% to 15% through share allotment. The committee also noted that GPHA has signed the following IFC agreements: the Equity Support Agreement, Direct Agreement, Subordinate and Assignment Agreement. Signature, Ministerial Review Committee. Commissioning of Committee. The continuous impasse and GPH's refusal to sign the share pledge agreement which is a condition precedent to the first drawdown of the IFC loan facility, came to the attention of the government economic management team. The economic management team directed the Ministry of Transport to set up an interministerial agency committee to review the various agreements signed between GPHA and MPH/MPS. On Tuesday, January 23, 2018, the Honorable Minister for Transport inaugurated the committee and charged the members to, among other things, review the shareholding structure of GPHA and MPH, the GPHA/MPS concession agreements, and the related financial implications considering the IFC loan and the tax waiver and concession for the project. Committee membership. The committee consists of Honorable Daniel Nikwate Tatos Glover, Deputy Minister of Transport, Chairman. Mr. Charles Edubuahin, Co-Chairman, Deputy Minister of Finance. Mr. Godfrey Dami, Deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Member. Honorable Samuel Ayepe, MP, Chairman, Parliamentary Select Committee on Roads and Transport. Ms. Irene Mesiba, Acting Director, PPME, Ministry of Transport, Member. Mr. Kofinti, Commissioner General, Ghana Revenue Authority, Member. Mr. Hayford Amo, Director of Internal Audit, Ministry of Finance, Member. Engineer Komla Ofori, Project Engineer, GPHA, Member. Alhaji Khalid Nuhu, Finance Manager, Takoradi Port, GPHA, Member. Mr. Frederick Kwesi Blay, Reserve Manager, Bank of Ghana, Member. Mr. Ekwamil, GPHA, Member, Secretary. Co-opted members, Mr. Peter McMenu, Board Chairman, GPHA. Hey, Uncle Peter, sorry free MPS board no so. Sorry free MPS board no so. Nama kwa dabi mko MPS board no so. Na wamu etutun takrano nese no man koya. Na omu diabre wo gapoha. Na wo wakasa adie we yempren, adie we ye. Munkonko ye ne sei. I didn't think Gapoha board chairman. Was I got MPS board so? Uncle Peter, I didn't think board no so. As a first step, President Mr. Peter McMahon on sorry free GPS board no MPS board no so. Na on metina chire. Na on ma kwala bi nko. Na sa kwada no component from so bi ba na on ma correct wo Gapoha. Wa panyinu no kwatena ho ne do nsahye boase a e be ye den na Ghana yetime hunu de yeye. That's Inti Mr. and then it's Mr. Peter McMahon on sorry free MPS board no so. Na MPS in Hunusa Ghana and near break. We are looking for what is good for Ghana. Sabri na was a patriotic. Uncle Peter, sorry free MPS board no so. Sorry free so never ye. Nama suma ubinko, suma general manager bi manonko. The baby koso na omuchi se no ba no be catch the wa no matena se no mahwa no akase we dey ye monko go ahead we dey there bi onko sesa no na wa panyin no kotena so a me pacho. Mr. Sam Owusu Achan, private financial consultant, member, a co-opted member. Mr. Edward Kofi Osei, director of port, and he woni hompo biem. Mr. Joshua Nimako, head of legal, Tema Shipyard and Dry Docks, GPHA. Mr. Adrian Osei Entry, legal counsel, Minister of Finance. Mr. Fosu Tete, Kojoji, technical advisor, Minister of Finance. And I just say the terms of reference in Yina, the terms of reference of the committee are as follows: to review the shareholding structure of Meridian Port Services, to review the IFC loan agreement for finance of the port expansion project, to review the main concession agreement and its amended version, to review the tax waiver and import duties on the port expansion project, and any other related issues. And I just say, interviews. The committee interviews some of the principal actors in the negotiations of the various contract agreements for the purposes of seeking clarification and perspectives from these principal actors. The following key persons were interviewed: Mr. Christian Amedo, General Manager Finance, GPHA; Professor Christopher Amiel Akumfi, former Minister of Harbours and Railways; Mr. Ben Osumensa, former Director General, GPHA, 2001 to 2009; Mr. Richard A. Anamu, former Director General, GPHA, March 2012 to January 2017; Mr. Ruben Atakpe, former board chairman of MPS and shareholder representative of Certain Energy Group. He attended with Mr. Franklin Kwame Asante, the former board member of the MPS, representing GPHA, and former GM auditor in Gapo. Mr. Kwame Asante, Miaminia, Nansaya and Ye Josephine Asante, Bonia, Yikukudi, no. Mohammed Samara, chief executive of MPS from September 2007 till date, who attended the interview with MPS, Mr. Frank Ebo Brown, legal claims and insurance manager, MPS. The committee looked forward to the attendance of the former Deputy Attorney General, Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayeni, but he did not attend. Also, the board chairman of MPS and former board member of GPHA, Alaji Asumabanda, did not attend, though several attempts were made to reach him. Insights and historical perspective. GPH's representatives on the committee, the project engineer, Engineer Komla Ofori, and the finance manager of the port of Takoradi, Alhaji Khalid Nuhu, provided very useful historical information and knowledge of the port expansion. Other members also brought to bear their respective expertise on executing the committee's mandate. The committee on February 6, 2017 paid a visit to the construction site, MPS New Terminal Project, for a first-hand view of the physical scale of the works covered under the deed of amendment. The site visit also confirmed that actual construction was ongoing with marine craft, dredgers and reclaimers, land-based equipment, trucks and other plants at work. GPHS port development engineers estimates the value of works executed committed at the time of the visit to the site to be between 250 million to 300 million US dollars. Almost February 2017 na adwuma ya no ene nam 250 million to 300 million nipa no so or the mudine mu kwaje bosia 1.5 million billion US dollars no wasa beje tax waiver totaling 832 million US dollars. Yeah, 70. Shareholding structure and agreements. The shareholders agreement. Meridian Port Services was incorporated as a joint venture special purpose vehicle by GPHA and Meridian Port Holding, MPH. MPH was made up of Valor Africa Logistics Group, Baguio Travel Public, and the Certain Energy Group, and the APM Terminals, who were at the time represented in Ghana by Maersk Shipping Line. Sometime during the period of the execution of the shareholders agreement and concession agreement, Baguio Travel Public abandoned the deal in favor of new engagement in Africa. General shareholding structure of MPS. The initial shares represented the shareholders agreement, MPH, 70%, made up of 12.9 of Baguio Travels, which should have reverted to Gapoha as a 2007. Yeah, the 12.5%, 12.9% will be. Was a 1 penny. I was here the Ebba Gapoha no as a 2000 I am farmer Gapoha. Yeah, the man, 6.75 of the Certain Energy Group, and in essence, 25.175 each for the Balor and APMT Maersk team, considering representation that these entities had equal shares. GPHA 30%. Mr. Ben Ousumensa, the former Director General of GPHA 2001 to 2009, narrated to the committee the circumstances under which the shares were allocated. According to messages, calls, according to him, the then president of Ghana, H.E.J. Kufuor, earlier wanted a 40% share for GPHA, but later agreed that GPHA or government of Ghana should retain at least 30% shares in the SPV, with the rest of the four international private parties sharing the 70%. The committee also noted that there is no available documentation of these engagements leading to the shareholders' agreement. Keep a paper trail. Keep a paper trail. Now, the committee also noted that the eventual shareholding structure arrived at was not based on any identifiable scientific evaluation of contributions of the parties. Indeed, the initial value of the shares as presented in the shareholders agreement could not be explained. The 6.75 Certain Energy Group share There were varying figures ranging from 5% through to 6.5 to 6.75 purported to belong to the certain energy group, though such figures were always subsumed under the MPH 70%. The certain energy group was represented by Mr. Ruben Atekwe, Mr. Kojuanan, and Mr. Michael Wilson. The committee also found that in October 2017, the certain energy group won an arbitration against the MPH group in respect of a purported dilution of the certain energy group shares in MPS. This arbitrary decision brought to light the existence of certain energy group in MPH consortium. Nipa shishim, normal shishim, obi nhuno. Just and talk see woman teman sa kweshim. The Bagu Travel Public 12.9 shares for GPHA. The committee also observed that the third MPH party, Bagu Travel Public, before the signing of the concession agreement, did not take up the shares allocated to it. Also, since there is no evidence that the original shareholding structure was established under any scientific valuation, the remaining shareholders did not take any action to revalue the disengagement of Bagu's Travel Public from the consortium. The government of Ghana subsequently took over the Bagu Travel shares. It was originally thought to be a third of MPH 70%, until MPH informed the Minister of Ports and Harbours and Railways that it was rather 12.94%. OCC MPH letter to MPHR dated December 5, 2005. The government of Ghana accepted the 12.94 and offered to transfer it to a local Ghanaian firm to encourage indigenous participation in the maritime container services business. GOG directed that the 12.9 shares should be allocated to Alhaji Asuma Banda, the then chief executive of Port Handling Company. Alhaji Banda acknowledged receipt of the offer letter and accepted the offer in writing and promised to revert to the Minister of Ports and Harbours Railways on the offer. Evidence made available to the committee revealed that the government of Ghana, shortly after the offer to Asuma Alhaji Banda, rescinded its decision and directed that the 12.9 shares be given to GPHA. The main conclusions are that there was no evidence that Alhaji Banda paid any consideration, cash or otherwise, for the 12.9 shares in the time they were offered. It has been established that the 12.9 shares have still, as the date of this report, not been transferred to GPHA as instructed by ex-President J. Kufuor at the time. Say, ye dear Japadieja. J. Kufuor, how many years? In 2009, January no koye. It is just a 10 years in here. Say, 10 years in here, which were 12.9 of the shares, I just say, in essence, the beneficiary of the 12.9 over the periods must be compelled to refund such benefits to GPHA and the share transfers completed without any further delays. Restructuring of the shareholding. The shareholding structure prior to the IFC agreement was 70% and 30% to MPH and GPHA respectively, covering a total of 100,000 shares. Following the need for the funding requirement of $1,095 million, IFC required a project financing structure of 65% debt, that is $712 million US, and 35% equity, $383 million US. In order to meet the equity requirement of the IFC loan, the shareholders of MPS on June 10, 2016 resolved to increase the number of authorized ordinary shares of no par value to 3 million from 100,000. On the same day, June 10, 2016, MPS resolved to make a capitalization issue by transferring 101,995,670 US dollars, equivalent to 768,916 units, from income surplus to stated capital without altering the existing shareholding structure of 70-30. SECNE. Subsequently, A June 10, 2016 resolution sought to allot, issue, and call on ordinary shares up to Ghana cedi equivalent of 98.7 million US dollars. On June 24, 2016, 512,963 units of shares were allotted to MPH, whilst 209,841 was purported to have been allotted to GPHA under the presumption that it was in accordance with the June 24, 2016 resolution. MPH accepted the allotment of 512,963 units of shares, though GPHA elected to decline the share offer for cash consideration. Consequently, in accordance with clause 13(1)(b) of the 2004 shareholders agreement, the GPH's 219,841 units of shares were offered to MPH, thus leading to the purported to have been diluted from 30 to 15%. The IFC agreement for the financing of the project. Hey. The International Finance Corporation, an affiliate of the World Bank, was engaged by the PIP to provide financing for the project. The loan agreement came with several other related financial documents. According to GPHA, the IFC loan and its conditions placed GPHA enormous pressure, considering that it was not expected to contribute cash to the project under the circumstances. In particular, the 35% equity upfront contribution for the project, which was the obligation of the sponsor parties, excluding GPHA by its definition in the IFC documents, resulted in the GPA share dilution and the subsequent impasse. The committee, however, disagrees with GPH's position and interpretation of the IFC agreements, as GPHA had signed the necessary collateral agreements as noted in section 4.1 above, and therefore cannot purport to be unaware of the implications. GPH's refusal to execute the share pledge agreement as a condition precedent to draw down is therefore not tenable, considering that GPHA had already executed the supporting agreements. The financial terms of the IFC loan in its current form do not necessarily present any danger to the borrower and the sponsors, as it appears the terms were negotiated based on representations made to IFC by the borrower and the sponsors. According to the CEO of MPS, Mr. Mohammed Samara, as of February 1, 2018, the IFC facility has not been disbursed, and that the project could come to a halt by March 2018 if no drawdowns are made. He emphasized that all the works, services, and supplies contracted as of February 2018 had been funded through revenue income flows of the company MPS. The committee therefore recommended an engagement with IFC, if possible, to review the structuring of the loan agreement and other remedy. So, no, ebi agafu halfway, and normal, if it's your woman, a jumayefua, a yegapu half one, if you lose you, nothing, no. Ejumayefo agapo hafo no be lose. Ejumayefo agapo hafo no be lose. Ejumayefo a omo be lose. Ejumayefo agapo hafo no be lose. Ejumayefo omo be lose. Ejumayefo agapo hafo be lose. Be lose. Eye 1,400 employees. Na 1,400 employees ma menchire mo ba bi omo free bay. Na se wonu bi anaso papa bi anaso wo fa bi e wo sa sector ho a na wo hunu ba bi omo be free bay ba. Omo be lose adwuma no me bo ba kire mu nto wo sa department ho a na de wakwa akopɛ bibi aye wo me be lose no enie. I say a total of 1,400 staff, both contract and permanent, in Tema and Takrady posts will have to be laid off. Operational staff comprising Terminal 1, monitoring, logistics, and Golden Jubilee Terminal are to be reduced by 40% in 2019 and up to 60% in 2020 and beyond. Total non-operating staff are also to be reduced by 40% in 2019 and up to 60% in 2020 and beyond. In total, 820 staff out of the total staff strength of 1,811 in Tema Port may be laid off. The breakdown is as follows: contract workers 219, junior staff 541, senior staff 58, management 19. In Takrady Port, a total of 562 out of 804 staff strength may be laid off. The composition is as follows: contract 58, junior staff 373, senior staff 112, management 19. Overtime is to reduce by Asemasi. Hey! Get better.
àwọn fẹ́ abibire mu ni wàá bẹ̀ yìí díò náà fún májè díò náà fún
díò náà fún
ẹ̀kyẹ̀sẹ̀ díò ní yà fún
ẹ̀fún ẹ̀díẹ̀ ní ebi firi ẹ̀kyẹ̀rẹ̀ aba
abibire mu nù adaroma ẹ̀tì wẹ̀ni
nti díò náà no
díò ní yà fún ti díò ní yà fún no ètì díò wẹ̀ mu asẹ́mu ni yẹ kẹ́yìn
nsẹ́mu ni yẹ tẹ̀ yẹ
nsẹ́mu ẹ̀ tẹ̀ yẹ no so ọ̀hún.
Díò ní yẹ ká mọ asẹ́mu nínú ẹni ẹ̀fún
díò ní di ayẹyẹ
fún
ẹ̀yẹ fún
nti ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ kẹ́ di ebi firi ẹ̀kyẹ̀rẹ̀ aba.
Negotiation skills once and when you can messages kakra messages kakra na deal in the phone. However, it seems our leadership lack more knowledge on dealing with agreements. Our leadership should be taught to reason by now. We are not serious at all. Stupid people learn by experience. Bright people calculate what to do. That is what happened to Gapuha. I rest my case. Theophilus Nyansa of Tema, and I we buy. I can so, and I say, do your phone? This is one do your phone. It's very unfortunate the way we saw our access to foreigners. Very sad indeed. I think this is more than a lack of negotiation skills. It looks like create, loot, and share. People have interest in the company and the fraudulent contract. Some people are happy to sell the soul of the country and their own souls for money, causing financial loss to the state or attempting to cause financial loss to the state. This dilution of shares reminds me of the merchant bank takeover under the guise of purchase or sale. How can the purchaser borrow from merchant bank to pay for the outstanding balance of the purchase of merchant bank? Only in Ghana. Simply unbelievable. Pajero, La Paz, and I'll say this is pure Gapuha matter. Don't involve any other party. If you do, we will get nowhere. Between Mutaman and or they ever yeah. Yes, in fact, this is a bad deal, and heads must rule. We can't continue to milk the country dry. Jomo Pukuasi Festus and or the buy. Do you have phone? Ozzy Mahmoud, this agreement is really confusing. Oh, Gapuha pa, how can you enter into this negotiating deal? I think we must try to do something about this deal because it doesn't favor the state at all. Jagos from Swamono. Do you need a phone, sir? And Ugusua or Diaba. I say I support the president looking at the contract, but his CID boss is funny. Come on, just a video phone, maybe I do. There's a phone that drew CID headquarters. What a Roma. A contract is doing your phone.
A contract once in the year.
Contract once in the year. There's a phone that drew CID this year. Hey, I think. Good afternoon. We thank God President Kufuor has reviewed the agreement. Paul Akonono. We reviewed here. I'll say in the next 5 weeks, technically 25 working days, maybe the experts now, they would have come back to advise him. Now he will know the way forward. And the two key things they measure up on. They say, Utimi used to Djibouti, DC, to name Djibouti, Ugugo, Djibouti, Port Hula Balu, DC, yeah. Next, well, if he's reportedly saying, say, deal near phone. What does it mean? If I understand you well, if the deal is cancelled, the workers will lose their jobs, right? No, okay, or no, the other way around. If the deal is allowed to stand out, and Gapuha will be cutting jobs by way of, say, losses up to $74 million a year. That is what Gapuha analysis of the say if this agreement is allowed to stay, analysis indicates that Gapuha will be losing $74 million from 2020 to 2027
from 2020 to 2026. And omobelusu seskano inti eno enema omo eni abrehum inti you could review.
Currently, right? You say the MPS currently employment saying now we're creating.
Gapoa ewo be 2,000 workers. The 2,000 workers in we yi 1,400. Then Gapoa is left with a year 600 workers. Na numpukwa na obesa kate other areas apart from job losses no. Obesa kate other areas. Amisko Pelele from Kaswa. Oh Gapoa abai dabi. She said see they was and Ose Amamu and Rufus Rampofu sold 1,400 workers of Gapua. Amamu de Obua committee no papa. Inti Amamu so netimi mo say your telephone ye twa baby mu. Inti Amamu do was so to from pa na ya dia na ne ho entone ne ho ntone kina. Ose Adakabri please. Please ask them why tax waiver money go there. Uncle Bo Temanono say tax waiver up to 832 million US dollars. And yes, we had the mom. Okay, then do need a phone pa. Question. If I understand you well, if the deal is cancelled, the workers will lose their jobs, right? And the achievements will there be deal need mumu ejinawa. Then Kapua is likely to lose 74 million US dollars from 2020 to 2026. Enti na just besides workers no be lose from kwano obesa carton also okay then deal need your phone pa. There's an independent thoughts in deal need your phone pa. Former Gapoha workers no be more time and I say with the way forward na now at least you dealer a whole background of it no and nra Gapoha workers akwakushia Ghana mampanyini just comment made in jest was it doing near phone into a deal near phone in 5 weeks or more better than top consultants are looking at it into Mwaye Beba and then Shannon so say a year June 28 and a year terminal 3 no so no MPS a different construction stage the about live operational stage you know it you hear how it goes. Also for good afternoon. In fact, anytime I listen to this deal, it always gets me mad. In fact, I don't need a phone. I don't need a phone, papa. And that's why I did not need a phone. And yeah, how things go. And it's a don't need a phone. Yeah,
you be free, Chiraba. After 5 weeks.
Aye. African credit and your phone sao.
Oh, there be and then your phone. Come on, maybe Eti ene ye ken but many so be no oba papa mackerel and I say African queen mackerel and na oba papa sardine eno de e me aduane nye fon aduane ye fon ne aduane African queen wan fan ye say ye nkwan aduane abomu oh but many so be no African queen oba papa sardine oba papa mackerel now there ye aduane mo amunu aduane ton wo menu aduane manipa dodo me sero conference bi ne ba be cause we nya contract awokwa no aduane de ama omo mesere obomade say obenya se no ama me sen African queen ni nua oba papa mackerel eni oba papa sardine na wo se timi aka bi enu ano no ofa ebe me aduane na ede wo provision shop nyina mu na ade no so ade papa na no na ede kwa aduaman so enti ne ba bibia wo bia no obomade say obenya bi na watu bi akwakoto komokola ayo oba pastors a wokwa obenya products nyina bi ato obenya kakra de agu botom African queen mackerel, oba papa mackerel, ni oba pasa. They don't allow one taste. And the enya phone, there be.
I just near phone, baby. Na kulugana so.
Kulugana phone so nu pay omo dia bay. And they mema do na eda kulugana fuase. E mema wa maso omre. Be me bua na so de na wutu no fokura ontie. Ye kan acho say stress e ya de bia enye. Stress e dinya. Enu nti say stress ba so ade abeye bia enko yie. Na droba kope ne betima boa we bra stress etete wo edro adi no benane ye de wo asom edro ni din ene Mr. Kill ite be ba wo chewo uyo bi a stress e ha wo stress nti be ya boso me miense ne won na sori kra ma obe ma sori da enso be ma de wo sori se no be ma sori ene e fro se o ye be ma
the was sorry no pano also be man so sorry they wo ko no akopuru mu na je say gina so sa
good na be man wona wo be man sorry de
why stressed
no me do nya no me do
Mr. Q so no 10 milliliters in the morning 10 milliliters in the
evening and no
be man sorry
no be man sorry
abo just what distress ho
kra over into me sre
we dey nya phone sa
Debbie we dey say papa
na me pebi amenya bi
obenya bi wo baby bia ye to no pharmaceutical shops ko abenya bi Sarah na wo ko
Mr. Q
ko also pe Mr. Q be ko nesi hwehwem ade ba ko me hu Mr. Q we ye kunu Ghana for products papa nti baby abeko bia wo mu treating special be na no ko ate no na sha hwehwe bi mu kama Mr. Q wo ho won capsules wo ho won be bo prostate ho ban 5 capsules in the morning 5 capsules in the evening but no me say me say who prostate disorder na so wo no medrei aboso me back for 30 days na wo anya nsunsu anso papa bi abraha ya ebetua usika de amount men kokulu mfo no kra because yenim de awom pa wo de wani kire mama Esther tesano tesano police station ye hina no heya ofa dru ha was go baby ato
and to go to me chance mama Esther chiri mu kire me say Mr. Q ne ye ne sen
na wa sure ba kokko a wanya da ye chiri
o chiri mu sa na kese no kwa ye added impetus
very good psychologically no bo say na
psychologically
no matter say na utini mu acha say bi
abra boatema eduba friend 0244
231170 0244231170 kunu Ghana phone numbers no ebe o 0244139176 0244139176 we kunu Ghana phone number and 0204139176 0204139176 bomode so so beka kunu Ghana for products na wetimi anonom eboa oba wodi wo mo wodi aye araba bazen enye be man ko na onya o masem oba be siesie ofichiko mu ya wo be ni nyina firi ho ebe ma watenka na bepie enti mesra araba bazen bomode se mini aba obenye bi anonom esiesie o kama o madarumo na ne yegina nan so wenso de anya fo enti we de wunya ne gi autum se wanya du papa na boye fo pharmaceutical shops licensed chemical shops okwo wunyina mesra obenye bi ato ye kan fo ne de mawo na wie wo madaro mo so ya se na dwumadi ye de bre ye ne yetiefo nyina
woye
yeah
ene sunsem no eboboba na what Uncle, please let's start hashtag deal near phone some no eboboba na nanamo himfo on say Banahin crew ene bole
yeah
Banahin crew of Bono region and a bole as well Savannah region a statement and counter statements and ne susuno na nanamo mo ama here damfa oyarifa otini bi adotaimai omunyina ase assistant commissioner of police Mr. Kwesi Fori one businessman Clement Jato and womu aka bomu a womu eji womu ensase esan ese womu japade wo dairy farms land acquired by government in the 90s into my press conference ene sentia womu bo Kwesi Fori charge no mo bo Clement Jato so charge Clement ro huna manu mo bo na charge no ni jamin club ana e kasama afo edema ni jamin churu abusua no na yemusa wo mo kakra Niklu, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Openi.
Nyame adom ye ho ye nam so
adom ne bia so ye so ha.
Woye. Nananam wa ma hia, damfa, oyarefa, otini bi ene adotai man. Wa mo mpo etesen.
Oh, adom yakufo na adom na efrefre mu kakra.
Woye. No mu si awie dia na asie ntia wo mo bo Assistant Commissioner of Police Mr. Kwesi Fori woye Operations Commander Greater Accra any businessman Clement Jato dia na abanti a mo press conference accuse omo
Openi nsem bibri ba me pon me hu modern for the top farmer because of at the time ever we do on hunti me patrol me
yeti o papa pani klu
villages Udi kind of ball, Ewaha, make a ball, and far. Amahia, Quema, Utinibi, Adutema, we are refining the Tika Humina. And then many workers I, Nukrenya, Upon Engineer, Britain, India, our of the Nikwasi Furi, our year operational commander for Greater Regional Police Service. Any abines, Penny for Bisu, Atentia. Yantabia, Sunday and a particular too. Yen Sastia abine edgy on the 5th August 1970, sir, or the year farm, the current dairy farmer, you can answer me. Opanya abine Sassi with promises that maybe clear compensation and a say. Yen anomaly and penny for Mudia Sassi, my buying edgy to as research the Ghana and Kosovo into a Mudia Sassi, my buying. Omudi asasi ma ban no ka ye villages how boy in hinano previous any gold is diamond ye ni timber ye ni bauxite ye ni petrol ye ni crude oil nsa se na ye inheritance ayi na nanom di mai no anu aso na ye do kakaka na ye di anu na ye do na ye di fia ye ma o kusku abendi president ya na na do ye president na se di anu Mahama be president se di Rollins be se di ama bani ku bo bi sa Adia na aba compensation ya omusi ombetu amaye omunsia atuma na omusi omuba bebre amaye ye mrantie ne mama wa ye free growing na so ye benye biaye anya mpuntu akusku ye manso be nya omu ta se papa no eno so aduma na amaye ntumi empie Adakabri me kanu kredi ha tro se wo confirm wa na workers na wo dairy farm no omu dos in the tree na abansi oye oho
Ethiopia.
Workers are what dairy farmer buying claims to be farm and what the GS and Anumata or your farm. Workers in Kwa farm. I thought to see the trainer buying your a human uncle. And I shall see petition or competition. I buy here into somewhere 2-3 years ago, and I buy here, I buy extra. Yet, I buy this one. A human or winter. Asase no so ada hokwa mrantie na so omunye duma privileges yi adi mpaso bi bebre omun so omunye bi nye nti abaya pene say obeden obetusu fans entusu be na ntwe kakra na omu ho no na omu secure by nti ye shine no abai draw conclusive report be mepese mekan is only about 5 lines so be ma me mra na makan in conclusion, the Lands Commission recommending 2 options that managers of Amahia Dairy Farm should take into consideration their safe operation zone and determine the amount of land is needed for operation to enable the Lands Commission take the necessary steps to secure the portion and also find out from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture if it's prepared to pay the outstanding compensation. If it is unable to find money and pay for the compensation of the land, then it should be prepared to cede a portion of the land in lieu of compensation. And I can emphasize on the word to cede a portion of the land in lieu of compensation to this family.
Neke se omo hwe baabi ombetimi ade aye emwa no na omo nti omo asese omo ntimi ntua compensation de yentwa asase de bi mfamma remainder persons no neke se yentua compensation de aka no ayede ma wo mo no
Adakabri mi da si papa asema o kan one problem you know and I buying asema me kan o perform ti Adakabri mi bia man ku school ndo ekire aya buying a Troy enye me me ne wo kasa ne Troy enye damfa hini ne Troy enye kurima hini ne Troy enye mahia hini enye wo yarepa enye odini bi enye adotema enye la enye teshi enye nungwa enye yi enye aboko bi ne Troy aya buying mpanyifo a ye di me ne wo ta sika atua on kan Troy sa report Adakabri oti
Ethiopia
enti mrantia ne maba wa o mu free village because I find you on one side, the people baby obeti dan atem kwa woni. Adakabri mini uni no nyina nim asase bo awon kran ha. San krofo ya krofo ya ban si asase. Aye ni dwuma ye be de na nya sika 20,000 30,000 akoto asase obebi asidan. Nti aban cho report yi from meeting now aban no. And I am ranching the mapa one if you munya bebi ndano. E yo mo ju so ni sa dia. Bebi e wo village no no be si asase 2 room 3 room. Said your money on giving your man benya bebi aye de your musia de. Yeah, we are. What negotiation is ongoing. And another I mean work aside. And let the person out me. And I'm buying penny for every time every year inspection. I was asking so. Me and do managers and say safe zone now buying so picking na lands commission and secure so that the rest of the land goes back to the family. I did Sunday and answer. Kwesi Furi led, I will not say policemen, tax. Adakabri, not policemen, tax. Jato, Kwesi Furi on mobile farm. A civilian carrying AK-47 with pistols on side of him, giving instruction to police to attack our kinsmen.
I was such as apart from say proceed for no by no. Ura Clement Jato by no Sukuta AK-47. I know Sakuta
fully known NDC activist who is a business associate of Ibrahim Hama. And then leads our operation, Kwesi who is supposed to protect life and property, maintain law and order, was sitting down for Jato to give instruction to policemen to point gun at our kinsmen.
It's about
me bizarre. As a question, I mean, bizarre me who and then say, step in previous and say, young school. A human science swap, ya into me, as I see again, a man on Jama and Suyan did this. Now, a buyer chichri and sub boyancy. I find the trace here, so say, oh, Jeffrey and Sama, step in previous and some other country and another say. There are 3 villages that all these villages are Mabubo Mudi. Yeah, press conference 2016 to support his campaign. So Nima, you say a country and Yan to about man and say, oh, my Kwesi Furi for 2 years. Sansula Yan to about man and say, oh, my Basabasa, and by your pronunciation. Now, yeah, your best traffic. I'm a Ubia Chichi and Sambo and Chiachi inheritance of free and some. Seven previous and another one at your Chibi. Or betting me for Chibia for you, we are trying to kinsman. Former President Mahama was at your Gunja. Or betting me for Fabunja, Tasia, we are Gunja for. Vice President Dr. Baunia, as a two Waliwali. Or betting me for Fawaliwali, a teacher Waliwali for Tambo, I'm a Kwesi Furi to editor for Siomuso. We are sounding a very strong warning to government. Say, yen transit.
Na ACP Kwesi Furi ene Ura Jato na almost dien na almost 20 almost the tuba in Sasson.
Almost at Kwesi Furi in country train on Gubia MPP Penny Tabio community our Trans Council of Great Pio Kwesi Furi may be Sanasam when free no Pamuno. Now in some IST or say Ubi Sinidindi Al Hassan was press secretary to Minister of Agri. So villages here are encroaching upon dairy farmland. Now the land is a government land. And we are also telling government that what you have not paid for cannot be yours. What you don't lawfully acquire can never be claimed to be yours.
I will say your friend saying press aid to the minister. Your friend Al Hassan.
Al Hassan, I think was the press secretary to the minister.
Isa Al Hassan, so the full name is Isa Al Hassan. Say you busa say the full name press secretary no full name is Isa Al Hassan.
Yeah, nimuno. Yes, you on Cropona tax now, Muka Kwesi Furi. Our Mubedi Sabi, Yambrasa Mono, tax, no, and a bobo dinner. I had to say,
it did not almost Isa
secretary to Minister of Agri
and Isa last and yes, why you're dang.
Or alas, and Kwesi Furino, and Jatono, alas, another for the Jatono. and I'm moving seven projects. What's your seminal?
I just said, Nina said, more a year a chrono, more encroaching on Asasia, ne ye indigenous people, dear Abaya G, and am I encroaching Moody Dicum?
Adakabri. Me pese yenti bibi as bibi kakra ase. Aban fire asase to the head there. Constitution no me the new me no nyina ye kan constitution so aban who for obi asase so we the year bibi a compensation. Aban antua dama amfa maye for the past 49 years. Adakabri otiemi. For the past 49 years, 1970 to today, 49 years. Now, Manti on free growing, one belho and our muto, and now Omuna Mamma Diama. Again, our staff, a buy compensation, and Cabe Wama Manti and Ashia to maybe Aku school, at Yanya to Matadia. Compensation, for the 49 years, Jumana buying here, I'm a Manti or Mufri Bromwin in National Area, so I'm buying to be Anya. And the Yanya then I Yenya de Yanya Betiata, Yenya de Yanya Betiata. Adakabri, Yenya de Yanya.
Okay, ni jam clue, Mr. Jinasuka Krebi Famayen. Na yene Jinasuka Krebi Famayen. Na yene the press secretary to the Minister of Agriculture, Ura Isa Al Hassan. Adabuga ene Kumasi ya different. Na onche ya semi mukakra. Adabuga na what is saying? When you never drink wada Roma, this year me hunu bibia. Okay. Oye. Na abusuafo bi ewo enkran ha sei eye damfa oyibi amran here. Na womo se eye omo ye ni jame churu asefo. Omo kasa mafo eye ni jame klu. Na womo se dabrewo Adabuga eye Isa Al Hassan. Any Owura businessman Clement Jato. Any assistant commissioner of police eye ACP Kosifuri. Mode a true Abadari farmer government etimi eji ya government no use for the purpose for which omo acquire land no. Now omo ye desirous to say yem partition bin some farmer nananom in lieu of compensation or keba mode a true ababe pampam wo mo de ne see
yo pa me da se manchia o ti fo na me na mo tini akwanya mo tani important personalizing and cassette me and the hey man Mr. and I said the DSP Kosifori and I sorry I'm a pebina hedia it's Simoki Kayen sorry and yet it's fully before Munko na Munko would be dead yeah smafo and a joint operation Minister of Food and Agriculture and a Minister of Land and Natural Resources. But I know Enra Anan and Sanina, they started our operation. They started last year somewhere in September. They used to Nungwa, Yalante, Owa, Sedi, Yajia, animal production for area research. Na omuye na milk ba marketa ye di farm milk ni yogurt ni adi na no langas atiki uba na ehun akohia se ye task force na task force no ebomodia na aban ejapade a ya dia to wo ye mfa mo oman ho bra no e wo ti secure ni make sure say e wo abedi aban sem nti anu bi na ya start ye last year wo nungwa ye ko amasa man fuku ase na afei na edru damfa oyarefa any amrahia say several times na yabo mama ni ti say offer say main kind the binche or Ghanaian Times public notice state land acquired for modern dairy farm at Amrahia. The Land Commission, acting in conjunction with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, wishes to inform the general public that the parcel of land situated at Amrahia, measuring 1.99 square miles or 1,382.132 acres, and popularly known as site for dairy farms, and a state land compulsorily acquired under Executive Instruction of 1970. It is instructive to note that government has not, and I repeat, government has not, and does not intend to release or cede any portion of the said parcel of land to any individual, family, or group of persons. It was an urgent notice now. The notice was published in the Daily National Obedience. Government has not given the land to any individual and our family here. You know, as a criminal category, upon land now your government, your own family, but you say, well, which number do you know? The bush land here, and Krata Mono. In the government in Yanfa member of PSC, obedience number being Cate, a Yanika, obedience. It will be our land, will be a wood. Uncle who say, oh, he is indulging illegality, a by Emma fine.
Adabuga say, Yetia dear. Na earlier letter or more family needs to say Lands Commission no are they to disregard sir communication ana
letter they are move to Mukai or you let the be Minister of Natural and Minister of Food and Agriculture.
Me say a new clue letter no mo say Lands Commission no mama head of legal our Minister of Agri ehunu sa letter na
Openye Adakabri. On the 4th of February 2016, the Abine through Lands Commission a convene meeting in the premises of Lands Commission. Now, the people who attended that meeting, let me mention their name. Isaac Justice Divera, Lands Commission. J.E.K. Jackson, Lands Commission. Cynthia Udampe, Mrs. Lands Commission. Ofe Kumi, TCPD, Langma. Honorable Choro Adams, Assemblyman. Edwin Bequeen, Amahia Dairy Farm. Joseph Frimpong, Amahia Dairy Farm. Seth Kweku Frimpong, Amahia Dairy Farm. Innocent Achina, Lands Commission, into bracket, record section. Opinion that I've read here, Adia Makines is here, Ayami, Ni Jania Mini Ukazamina Troy.
David Yebu sound say, Sir correspondence in it purportedly a Lands Commission, any diary for a union. Now, so what is our last thing? Ministry of Agri Freezer on the supervisory agent, if I could finish, almost as supervisory, your friend saying, ministry. For the diary, no, and then a more person more communication be a mobile head of legal at the Ministry of Agriculture. No matter determine the way forward.
Adakabri, for the sake of our listeners, say minim say alas and maybe nimuno, but the minim say about these issues are copies of the petitions and attachments, including these ones that we've submitted to his boss's office, are all that we can make available for you.
Okay, you be prepared to say Mubema a series of communication and money Lands Commission any diary for Nigeria. If I could finish. Okay, move to me a package. I
personally appeared before Honorable Akoto Doctor, Minister of Agri.
Okay,
when was the last time Omunya elected to National Lands Commission? Date today.
Okay. Open your question on my bisa me no me yi na no. But person me bisa no say ni krum baby or free.
Me pacho and simbi and if I could finish. No, if I could finish. Ni me pacho ye pese enipa dodo ebeti asem a ye kanase na asem a ye kan so ground rule no e say yemfa facts pe ene yemfa nkasa ono de or ye press secretary to the Ministry of Agri wankasa onumpo na mpanifo mfa bibi nche ba ye hwehwe asem no solution to the problem more documentation bia na mo ye prepared say mo betimi ama documentation no head of legal at the Ministry of Agri wa hunu ni nyina ni ehunu the way forward ana
Adakabri no kura woman and say documents are me go to free mu any dia me di bet request for in alahas nankasa Sunday na omu ye taking up that barbaric act our farm hono ninyi na copies war on the table of Minister of Agriculture.
And my press conference. And my press conference. My press conference. No, let's start again. Mun documenti mu bibia because mu kwa mu pese yete asem na se. Mun documenti bibia na under the auspices of NEET FM. Ye de o man ne pe ne ye ne arrange na mu mpamu representatives na ye ma Minister of Agric head of legal so ene o mu consultants o mu so ma mu date na mu fa documents ni nyina anko ne ye ntie the head of legal Minister of Agric obeka.
Adakabri as law abiding citizens of this country. All these villages that I've mentioned, we are prepared, even today, now, this very moment, we are having this interview to meet you, to make all our documents available to you.
Okay. We
are prepared.
Me make sure that team no.
One thing, Adakabri, there's one thing I have said it and I will echo it again, is that no amount of intimidation, no amount of threat will push us to go back to leave what lawfully belongs to us.
Niklu, and I make us and can I say, and Yamudi penny first time a bindi can't ya. Uko West Adenta Abidjan say eventually no ebisako me say Niklu and clients are say ye compensation the nye na asem ne beka but there's a precedent whereby say and sasi bebre Abidjan won kran ha say yetimi a resolve abra anye kikri aviation sasi wa denta ho no wodi free ashalebotwe ede ko nyina no and this time no eno ye pese ya eno ye pese ya avoid and pacho eno na ye pese ya avoid ntino yenya number me make sure say the team would make further contact with you. You better get the documentation be here. You better liaise with the Minister of Agric. At least na you facilitate a meeting. Na you person obi be wu e was asisu biem. E bra you betimi resolve asem no. Adabuga wada Roma monso so no you can normal bomb near request to meet up with the legal team at the Minister of Agriculture. Mu betimi facilitate.
Of a said and yes, I think you know why this kind of trouble. And the important thing I was here and say, say animal production directors or workers, their lives were at stake. More to board my land at you and tree and so then so a bind here, I invest here, only produce milk, any meat, at the table Ghana Hangina. It's not a woman at the boat and Yamaha. It is a OBP polo, that's a dear, appeal being a dear, or Moyama government, and Catalan 2 ministries, no ministers, no. Also, a year and Catasama is not near. Then yesterday, we were sorry, what the Asati and Media no form also certain people. So much your Miska, I'm not sure Pan, yes, it's one. Nina and what, and to me, no offer, the air can say. That was important to listen to a line. Let's say that's a simple actually. Yeah,
right. And no, you secure land. It's yet there was a pa a year. New clue to get it back to you.
So that was
you.
Farm no, I want to create any you or what I was saying on mobile buying any workers. No, I buy the records now. Buy your position. No, I buy documents are available to us that government is going to. I was over 10,000. But Adakabri mini workers are extra about small reporters to farm. No, the farm is having 180 cows. That 180 cows in so and you buying their individuals there. Or no Alahasan, I mean, interview be woman Nidia. Personally, which does not belong to government. Government does not benefit anything from that farm. Adakabri.
Okay, and to make it further contact. You better make it further contact near my team. No, I get in touch with you. Now, in your home, why?
And you with the
you.
Yeah, MP. Some is Abesti and in kind. Now, so, work and you know, you better so. You better put your document in a now we take it up.
Right. Nyame enhyira nananom nyinaa a wɔn amahia damfa ene otini bi ene oyibi mu nyinaa na yɛnhwɛ kwan a yeso ɔman ni ntini si yɛkasa tenten wa yeso yɛba facilitate amomotimi ahyia na Clement Jato head of task force Ministry of Lands na kwa sɛ aban sase bebree gugugugu baabi bebree a ya na aban no kra no on keep control over it to mon say actual occupation no na kodi nipa bi nsam enti mon say aban na nhwe a na agye ne nsam a enti akwa sɛ omanya task force a yɛhwehwɛ baabi aban sase nyina wie ɛwɔ na omotimi ayɛ de bɛne a atimi ahwɛ ama yɛhunu baabi ɛda na enti ɛne owura Clement Jato nkasa. Mr. Jato, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Adakabri.
Now, what is saying?
Madam.
Right. Yes, it's a and then the approach for assigning AK-47 amount. Any this side arm bears a me and some boss and I would dear him a dairy farm or my damn farm. I didn't see you.
Unia, me pacho. Basically last year, and I information said, and for a haraze dairy farm for Ninchi or Mukumo by heart, Mututu at the care farm managers. And to your activity, I was done far or Yari far and my here, they are living in fear and panic. Into Yakoy as the head of task force, many go see foreign policemen. The cohort. The cohort, the cohort, early development on Obezo Dia Foundation, Obezo, Bibi Kakra, Wabob, we are going to be a book container BOT. The cohort, a beyond Yapamacho, a more continuous existence, government activities. Onia. Onipa baako to me afa asase bɛɛ sɛ 10 acres na wagye ho ba 20 acres na wagye ho ba so watɔti ahemfo no hɔ nanso mene wo asase a abaagye ato hɔ etitititititi na nipa baako akɔfa mu 20-30 acres agye ho ba ɛbɛyɛ yie sa ɛna aban sɛ dabi yɛnkɔ na nhwɛ na saa nneɛma yi ɔmo gyae yɛakɔ akɔka na dɛdɛɛdɛ Now, so can we are? Okay, but say, Chiaka said, Omutumi Yeshe. Yes, I know so. A buying and she share buying woman, Sasano. A Kobana Sa. Unia, affordable house in your buying can query. One dispute, one factory, your buying can query. And your mother, buying the accident, and this source or yellow. But she attempts me yet. Even farming, I yet to me to Umbuatu. Yet it was scare farm managers for Mujane. Now, I go say abandoned to Nanya and the head your bed. And the last Sunday, and the GI, you go home and Martin. Yeah, the pressman and the choir. Yet you're flying for no so more buy. I'm a Munya and the Sunday, down for Chief Nangata, ni afutu Frimpong Sasabu Ankasa Onangasa so be for be by and I can show me the song of Tasa there Aban fetu Aban fa langas and Gojas asena and few more nana no more afra Aban ebe negotiations and a coy and this and then say on what does so no more Tasa Sinibia omo kwa ban chen ni ofuo afa ni bia ma ban sa ban the pouch my assassinate. Now, so Uncle one gets out the hunting and the ras assassin. Now, yes, you are pet dear. At least, Unia. Anything I call Andra and was the early development in a giant, a bubunina gule. Completed buildings, dear a giant. Because instruction is said, we should add human face to the exercise we're doing. And the human face is Obiwa was sitting on team. If anything more, or say, Yen and Kata, the ton about the ton assassin ne dino, manati assassin as well, not by it. And the Tiawano, the Akoya, and the Chieni.
Enti Sisiano, yene nananom kasamafo akasa. Ena yene Isal Hassan, press aid to the Minister of Agriculture so akasa. Na yesi ye boa nanka nananom etime ya facilitate so mbetime na Agric Ministry at least at the head of legal level. Eshia na mwatme ahwehwe the way forward. CMPC better say etu akasa ma muje biegu asase so a no ene pese etu sa na mo no. Sanya de a mobeka se chinchina mu nhia wo mo.
Dabi. Me share mo no me country mo say. Once I'm the head of tax force. And see Bibiania, on me to near Baneho, me saw Monsemu, I the Minister of Land, and now Minister of Agri. Once this joint ministry, and now my collaboration on all government land. And you know, Honorable Chairman, or KSS, bring the chiefs. Honorable Dr. Akoto, I say, bring the chiefs and the elders. Let's have a sit down and discuss the way forward. But they cannot take the land with impunity. Me GD pass the Unia, wouldn't say I am paying for it. Honorable Chairman, Honorable Akoto, I'm more abadae. I can't carry ya president or abadae. And the house on Mukom when you at the record to when you ma among ye. Oh, my ya. Now so, and I am for no one that was at all. And for no yen, you know, about the Nalanga so room. Now go be so tryna and the no afa. Nana de na koye. Eti me de e chopa na me de be mo se. Me wo ha. Omo ina omo ni me. Omo bra. Wo I promise you say me de ombeko minister ni. Obo say me one kasa na wa follow say minister on resolve issues here na.
Yate. Asem papa no waka na just say you stand for peace, you stand for dialogue, you stand for regularization. Na ye nyina ye ma emra enye adwuma wo manum. Yede wase. Exactly. Mr. Jato, yede wase se oni akasa. Right. Majeri.
Baba.
Na we hu ne ye de atuo ne ade yi. Yentimi resolve. Da bia na wo se on pass eba na.
Yeah, be on pass the sentence say but as someone na ne kana kwakoye bibia wo ho but we ni here say and you to who said, but at the moment, we'll call ye evacuation and now we'll cast as someone some no be at missing tea no we'll call not just a wabon who buy. So say they say, Zana Quacoya, but we yes, I don't know what that mean. I'm DC na or see it me facilitate na Mujina Brani na or muti because said was he can also if you could do and you be a means are Greek 7 or 2 keen on land and one also so quite so much them so no. Name because say a true ceremony at the dinner. You can say I will be a woman. Now, aviation are see or high. Once sa would they call denta hormono and also say nipa a true casam and nipa woo. So now brand here kiki West Adenta or Hineno or that one PNT 4G and as I say, Omu J moved to Bima or Hineno. And almost as atom junk of 4 pencil. Almost chemo and sa. So no. And I buy far back and a year state agency so far back and no more the back on my hineno. So aviation there's the same way. Almost a chemo a buying them far back aviation for them far back and look at Yana dear some people fool who can say aviation for union will be a quadrigen sassinibi. So until the end of the day, Nadia no encore aviation as a state crane to crown union for one near Biafra. So until we not see it as a compulsory acquisition of one emrana cracker and Sassano nipa me and sans as your modia your meremono. Now the woman say Ayana say Basse and no maybe one compensation being so on a 2 hour fair one of see it to make a year. So because I mostly no better be ana because constitution no crack say just compensation. Say about me ji asase bia na mu betua compensation. So to be na say no so hu senka na kwa bibia bo. Ya facilitate na wo mo kwatena say na ye mpe etuo sem bia ene no mu ya kakra. Sama ye kakra ye kan wie ne aba be kan wo ye kakra ye wie. Ye kakra ye wie. I will say
West Adenta deɛ no dwonkofoɔ pɛn so oh nipa so ayɛ bio enti hɔ no ma na yɛ frɛ nananom ɛna ɔhene no sɛ wɔde kɔbom wɔ labade ni okataban afena maka ne din ni okataban ani dwonkofoɔ wɔnantem ɛno nti na wɔnkɔ office ntɛm no enti wo deɛ bɔ bɛyɛ sɛ midnight a wonkɔ yɛ dede wɔ no gate na no atɛbi na mika yo saa ofi me anadwo dumienu ye ɛna dwonkofoɔ frɛ nana bedi ako ona ACP then ɛna wɔyɛ kofi ase hene nana wada roma me kyia wo ai na ɔfrɛ no sɛ edede bɛ na wo gate na no yɛ kɔ clear wɔ mo ɛni ɛna so wɔ himfo bi wɔn so bu fra denta ɛna ɔmaba so da bi enti adeɛ kyen yɛ de paper ɛna yɛ de kɔ hɔ no a kyɛ sɛ no ɛna kokɔ wie sɛ even Crown Professor Mills by no Alaji Collins Esther Bin Dapa eso betoa so na Alaji Collins Dauda enso so no betoa so no mu chemu miensa enti ene ye kame bobo omo minister fo no abi kura tetete ho chemu miensa no mo de ba akoma wo hene no na mo de ba akoma eye PNT fo no na kyese aban so efa ba ko don't teach us a formula need the honum na ye ni dia wada roma
I didn't tell you kwakwa na mo je fi because someone some so dia one back some na draws so
it mo me hwe na yen resolve nto we de yanka se facilitate na ne ko da me mo hwe kofidua na mo ne hemfo no ntena se na ye hunu se wo hemfo no nyina wo fa ba ko se uzu afri akoto nanim ko nye dene ohene ba wada roma na wutumi se wakogina fu obi mu no hye na Wellington bus krokro atumi se wodene sa so de sisi Ram so hene ba we de wa bre and almost one no munim say or no nim afuo mu konti no share ne krokro no and Wellington no ma ka hye low festival ni ade nam so hunu kwakwa so ma kire me oba nkran ya na ebo ni chidom ti nanim ko nye dene edi ko da me woni kofidua ene majeri mon hwe na mon finalize na ye hwe himfo no representative nya na ye hwe na omo date na at the earlier stage no omo hia a head of legal no at the Ministry of Agriculture na afiso Clement Jato no hwe na munye bibia na yentimi fa report mre fence etiefo se wo mining aha
yempe
kweka damfa so de hon mo nwunu pa
oh fine
how I fancy Presbyterian for no the south side hon
wo kwa so ko bepona se hon
pa papa kwesi mispa see ade I was a Pentecost elder no enipa bi de petition aba se wo mo ntia se se nipa bi beka se Pentecost elder na se bi akukuta load na eno so ntia se yenka de a na akoye sisie na nso temporary ya je atom se afutuo no ampambo de de wo de manipa nti enne awafo mu ntia futuo a opambo de mammo enko ware emetiti wo bi ba opambwe
ba wa ma ware ni mu kunu mu tie ya mo sumu ndare ye no aya mo hwe emema mo sumu me no